Treasurer Dukowski, this is Foresto. Thanks for attending today. Looks like no other trustees have jumped on yet, but Dr. Rogers did accept the meeting invitation, so I expect him to join, but if we could give him a few more minutes, I guess we can wait a little while.
Sure, I'm fine with that. I'm fine,
All right,
however,
thank you.
however long you decide.
Yeah, I guess we can give everyone a few more minutes, but I'm glad again that you were able to attend. Depending on how many minutes passed, do you mind jumping into the agenda? And again, I think it'll be still worthwhile to present this financial update to the treasurer of the board.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, thanks again. I guess we can wait a few more minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Scheduling them all. Hello?
Hi, Dr. Rogers, can you hear us?
Hey, Floresto, how you doing? How's everyone?
Good, good, thank you.
All right, I apologize. Got caught up in something here on campus, and the residuals of we had a gas leak line hit yesterday, and
Oh,
dealing with
wow.
the aftermath of that this morning. So
Okay.
I apologize. I'm on the move, so I will certainly try to mute as much as I can, but I can't see the agenda. So I guess
Okay.
we can go ahead and start roll call and see who we have on for the committee, and we get started. That's okay.
Okay, no, that sounds good. And Treasurer Dukowski is also in attendance. If you would like her to help with going through the agenda, I mean, we can start with roll call now, though.
Yeah, let's go ahead and start roll call.
Okay, Martha, do you want to take it from here?
Okay, so Trustee Rogers,
Present.
Trustee Dukowski,
Present.
and I don't see Trustee Turner Whiteley or Trustee Foyt online, and I don't see any of the other trustees online for the record.
Okay, thank you.
Back to you. Thank you.
Okay, I guess we will do Pledge of Allegiance. That should be next, right?
We don't need that for a committee meeting unless you want to.
No, we don't. If it's not required, then we will pass on that. And so we don't have a quorum. Is that correct, Martha?
No, we do not. But I'm not sure it's required as we don't have anything that's being voted on for approval today.
Okay,
Correct.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. So, Floresto, I will, I guess, turn it over to you well, do we have anyone sign up for public comment?
No public comment at this
Okay, then
time.
Okay, Floresto, I will turn it over to you if that's okay for you to lead us through the next agenda item.
Okay, no, that sounds great. Martha, can you confirm there are no other items on the agenda that we need to move through first?
The next item on the agenda was to accept the proposed agenda, possible action. I'm not sure if that's required.
Well, I skipped
Well,
that one because we don't have a quorum anyway.
Okay.
So it's
And then the only other thing we have is your update, Floresto, and then final public comment.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'll take it from here.
okay, and then I can see the screen with your presentation.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. For the record, I'm Floresto Cabayas, the district's chief financial officer. This update will give you a snapshot of where the district's finances stand midway through fiscal year 2026 and how current economic conditions are influencing revenues and expenditures. I'll walk through the broader economic context first, then cover revenues, expenditures, and close with where we stand overall and what's coming next for the board. Southern Nevada's economy has shifted from the rapid post-pandemic rebound to a more stable, normalized pace. That shift is showing up most clearly in consumer behavior, which directly affects sales tax. Property taxes are continuing to provide a strong balancing effect on total revenues. It's compensating for the volatility in sales taxes by giving us predictability, while taxes in sales are leveling off. On the spending side, we're seeing good discipline from staff. Expenditures are tracking in line with the fiscal year 2026 adopted budget. Taken together, all of these factors reinforce that the district is in a solid financial position. Fiscal year to date, consolidated sales tax revenues are basically flat compared to the prior year. This is consistent with what we're seeing regionally. Consumer spending normalized after the surge we saw coming out of the pandemic. The current performance in CTX, or consolidated sales tax, stayed consistent with the conservative assumptions we used when the fiscal year 2026 budget was adopted. CTX is still our most economically sensitive revenue source, so we're always monitoring trends closely. Staff does that month to month, in fact. At this point, we don't see any indicators suggesting a sharp decline. Instead, we're actually seeing things seem to be leveling off.
And then Floresto, in that space, how for how we're trending, because we're hearing that tourism is down and the Nevada economy is declining. So what's the trailing difference between our data and what we hear in economic conversations, if that makes sense?
Yes, no, that does make sense. And I know there is a belief, at least nationally, that we may be approaching a recession. And the concerns also here in Southern Nevada, but that's just not what we're seeing in the numbers. I'm showing here a chart that I presented to the Finance Committee at the last meeting in September. And this is where I was gonna, present like our point of view on sales tax revenues. Because again, like some of the observations that we've heard from economists, even locally, are more anecdotal. The executive director and I recently attended a economic outlook at the Center for Business and Economic Research that UNLV presents a couple times a year. And the experts there actually see it the same way. There obviously is always concern about the economy taking a downturn, but they're optimistic about the economic outlook in the short term. And so is staff here, which is why I presented this chart, which again, like the trustees have seen before, but I thought the chart was worth showing again because it gives us helpful long-term context. You can see that sharp decline in fiscal year 2020 and 2021 during COVID. The bars in red, that was followed by a strong rebound in fiscal year 2022, jumping from $24 million to $29 million, which was driven by the pent-up demand and in tourism recovery. In the years since, like CTX growth has leveled off to a more normalized trend. And this goes to your question, Dr. Rogers. The chart looks jagged in that there was a large spike in 2022, then stayed flat for multiple years. That could suggest there might be a problem in the economy or that revenues have stagnated. But if we ignore the red bars showing a sharp decline in revenues from 2020 to 2021 because of the pandemic, staff still believes that revenues in these years would have continued increasing at a more moderate rate. So, for example, $23 million in 2019 is what we're showing, then $24 million in 2020, like hypothetically, like if COVID never happened, then $25 million in 2021, and so on until we reach $32 million in 2026. That's the amount of sales tax revenues that staff expects to hit by the end of this fiscal year. Meaning that if the pandemic never happened, normal growth would have gotten us to $32 million anyway, except on a more steady trajectory. So again, going back to what staff is seeing in the numbers, what the district is actually collecting in sales tax, there doesn't seem to be the risk of a serious downturn, as compared to what other economists are seeing as potential, recession that could be affecting things like consumer behavior. We saw a spike in spending after the pandemic because of government stimulus. So basically, that stimulus fast-forwarded the amount of consumer spending. So the leveling off that we're seeing today is likely normal as opposed to being a sign that there's a serious underlying problem in the economy. Now, that's not to say we won't see a serious problem in the short term due to a recession or another black swan, but current economic indicators show that the numbers we're seeing halfway through the fiscal year is suggesting stability. At the same time, though, this pattern is exactly why the district treats sales taxes as volatile and balances it with more stable revenues like property taxes. Dr. Rogers or Treasurer Dukowski, any other questions with relation to the CTX?
No, thanks for that thorough explanation. And that makes sense. That tracks for me.
Okay. Property tax revenues have always been stable and has been a reliable foundation for the district. The increase from fiscal year 2025 actuals of $69 million to the fiscal year 2026 budget of $76 million reflects rising assessed property values in Clark County, as always. Based on collections to date here, fiscal year 2026 property tax revenues are on track to meet the budget, and it's actually likely to exceed the budget slightly. And of course, this stability is especially important because as sales tax growth moderates. And as you know, I also regularly repeat this message because it's important for budgeting purpose, and it's not just positive thinking. The property taxes are likely to continue increasing at a steady rate because of the tax caps that the legislature implemented in 2006, 2007 after the housing boom. Since then, assessed values on property have continued rising, but the caps limited how much a property tax owner's bill can increase year over year, which ended up smoothing out revenue growth. So on the one hand, property taxes won't skyrocket in any one given year because of the caps. But on the other hand, property taxes aren't likely to fall off a cliff because they're already been artificially suppressed because of the caps. Meaning if it wasn't for the caps, revenues would have been even higher. Now, over time, the district managed those finances in a way that took advantage of this consistent revenue flow that we're seeing. We built reserves that supported capital initiatives like the brand new library in the historic West Side. And I'm focusing on the district's operating fund today, the general fund, because managing this fund determines how much we can transfer to capital reserves. I'll be going into more detail about the capital projects fund when we present the fiscal year 2027 budget to the trustees over the next couple of months. In the meantime, the way property tax revenues are performing gives us good confidence that these taxes are going to continue being reliable and will help support long-term planning and service continuity. Just to clarify this expenditure chart, the blue bars represent the total budget for fiscal year 2026. The orange bars right next to it represent actual expenditures through December 2025. At the 6-month mark, general fund expenditures are slightly under budget, which is consistent with normal timing patterns. You can see that visually in that orange bar, they're close to half the blue bars, but actually under. For example, salaries, wages, and benefits. Personnel costs are tracking as planned, and routine vacancies and onboarding timing also contributes to savings compared to the budget. As a reminder, the district budgets personnel costs assuming 100% of positions are filled throughout the entire fiscal year.
And then for us, so what's our usually vacancy, sort of the average vacancy percentage rate that we have in a fiscal year?
It actually could be, it's roughly about 25% in a fiscal year. So that correlates with the amount of savings that that we see. Yeah. But yeah, it could be anywhere between 20 to 30%. And part of that is like just some recovery coming from the pandemic. Coming out of the downturn, we intentionally froze positions and started filling them as we reopened and started increasing programming. That's continued over time all the way till now, where we're fully open. We have a brand new library, that opened its doors recently, and we're getting even closer and closer to a higher percentage. I would still say the vacancy rate is probably around 25%, but likely if we took a close look at it, it'd probably be even the positions would be even more full today. But that's
and then for Resto, if I may, so for your budgeting philosophy, how do you leverage the anticipated vacancies within your budget model?
Yeah, we budget at 100% just to be conservative, but we do anticipate these vacancies. We expect them to happen throughout the year, and then there's a
You're right.
timing of onboarding, as I mentioned. So really, the conservative approach is to budget at 100% in order to ensure we don't go over budget. But at the same time, internally, we have an idea of the amount of savings we expect. Like you pointed out, Dr. Rogers, we look at the vacancy percentage, the average of it over time, and where we're tracking throughout the fiscal year, so we can see the potential savings. This is actually something that I plan to discuss in more detail with the executive director, in that we could sharpen our pencils there to more accurately reflect what we anticipate spending in the fiscal year. We would just have to balance that with the risk of potentially going over budget. And so the conservative approach would ensure that we're under budget, and like we just account for the savings in order to plan for the transfer in the form of a surplus from the general fund to the capital projects fund. Again, that's something we haven't approached that way in the past, just out of, again, like our conservative spending and budgeting practice. But the reason that we may consider doing that, meaning not budgeting at 100% and trying to more closely budget the way we anticipate positions to be filled throughout the year, would be to maximize the amount of surplus that we can transfer over to the capital projects fund. Yeah, the only item there that we would consider as far as not going in that direction is just having to bring a budget adjustment to the board if for some reason we thought that we might exceed the budget in a given year. There isn't
No,
a
I think
high. Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think your philosophy is sound, Floresto.
Okay.
You're not at risk like with us, where we know we're gonna have 15-20% salary savings, but we have a constraint that we can't carry it over, right? So we have to do take a zero-based budget approach with how we move salaries to other lines and other budget categories and people. So I appreciate what you do, and I appreciate that, when you do have that, whatever that salary savings is, you can just move it right into a savings. So no, I certainly recognize that you could sharpen a pencil and do all those things, but my questions is not to suggest that that you need to change how you are managing the known or expected salary savings from year to year.
Okay, thank you. No, we appreciate that.
I agree. I agree. It's almost as if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Yes, and I personally like to budget as though, hey, I'm going to have everybody butts in seats for the whole year as a worst case scenario for my obligations, so that I don't have to take corrective action should that not be the case. If I did the reverse and under budgeted my position, so keep doing what you're doing. It's working.
Okay, thank you. And that has been a reliable approach that's gotten the district through some challenging economic times. So yeah, thanks for that feedback.
Yes,
and there aren't other expense categories that are deficient or lacking to where you have to sharpen the pencil to be more exact for how you would then repurpose those salary savings sooner in the fiscal period to fund some other high priority things. So you're very sound in my opinion. So
Okay, yeah, thank you.
you.
The services and supplies budget is also within our expected levels, and that's despite ongoing inflationary pressures. Capital spending in the general fund represents the purchase of library and media materials. This spending is also on pace to stay within budget. So overall, current trends support staying within the adopted fiscal year 2026 budget. In fact, we expect to have enough of a surplus to transfer a healthy amount to the capital projects fund in fiscal year 2027. Again, that's something we can discuss further during budget board meetings.
okay.
All right, just to summarize, the district closed fiscal year 2025 with a clean audit, as you know, and strong ending fund balances. The balances, as always, gives us a healthy reserve going into, or gave us a healthy reserve going into this fiscal year, 2026. Year-to-date results are showing stable revenues, controlled expenditures, and that we're staying aligned with the adopted budget. Looking ahead, key board actions are going to include designating the district's auditors in March. Each year, the district has to designate its auditors for the upcoming financial statement audit. And staff is going to recommend the board approve engaging Hinton Burdick again for the fiscal year 2026 audit. Hinton Burdick performed the district's audit for the last 2 years, and they've done an excellent job getting work done timely and giving us helpful insights. They recently presented the results of their audit for 2025 to the board last November. And their proposed fees for the upcoming audit this year would include a 3% increase from the prior year. And staff considers this a reasonable increase given the current wage inflation. So we'll be presenting that item to the board in March.
And this would be their second year?
This is actually, I believe, their 5th year. And
Fifth?
so, yes.
Okay. This would be maybe the second or third contract, period.
Yeah, the board approved an agreement with Hinton Burdick for up to 5 years. I believe this will be the
Okay.
last of that 5-year renewal.
Yeah, that's why I couldn't remember if we had done like a certain number of years up front, and then we had the option to renew 1 year in 1 year increments up to 5. So
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, that's exactly the structure of that agreement with Hinton Burdick.
okay.
Also, in April, staff is going to be recommending the appointment of directors to the West Las Vegas Quality B Board related to new markets financing. This action is also required annually, and staff will recommend appointing the same directors currently sitting on the West Las Vegas Quality B Board. And of course, that includes you, Chair Rogers, and Treasurer Dukowski.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then I had a moment. Trustee Dukowski,
Yes.
you're the chair of this committee now, right?
The chair of,
The Finance Audit Committee, this one?
no, I thought I was the chair of the risk management.
Okay.
Am
I'll go
I
back.
wrong? Am I wrong about that?
Well, I
It
was just
says
thinking
the
as,
chair is Trustee Whiteley.
oh, for this one here, for
Yeah.
It says Finance and Audit is, she's the chair, at least that's what it says on the notice of the meeting.
okay.
Yeah, I'm the audit. I'm the secretary.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, thank you for that clarification.
And Dr. Rogers, another member of the Finance Committee, is Trustee Foyt. She wasn't able to attend today, but I believe with Trustee Wah leaving the board recently that there is an opening for the 5th member of this Finance and Audit Committee.
Because I know that when Trustee Wah was chair, he was ex officio on all of them, and then when I served as original treasurer, that's how I ended up being the chair of this committee as a treasurer, which made me recall that probably Trustee Dukowski as the treasurer should probably be the chair of this committee. But we can talk through that again with Vice Chair Whiteley on who's over which committees again.
Okay.
As a
And
note,
Dr. Rogers, you'll also consider appointing another trustee as the 5th member of this committee?
Yes.
I was just gonna say I come to these meetings anyway, so if you need someone to serve on it, I'm happy to serve. This is Trustee Fiedler for the record.
Oh, thank you, Trustee Fiedler. And what we'll do is likely I'll just get with Kate and maybe we'll just talk through again who's on which committee just to make sure we're all clear there, because I think I got a little foggy on that on my recall on who's on which committee again, and then we'll just make sure we publish that and maybe just go over it one more time at a future meeting.
Okay. And the last
Sorry to digress.
Oh, no problem. Thank you, Dr. Rogers. The last item I wanted to present to the trustees is that we'll be reaching out to all of you to coordinate another Finance and Audit Committee meeting in April. The district's tentative budget is due to the Nevada Department of Taxation on April 15th, and staff will be presenting that preliminary budget to you at that time. And that discussion is going to build on today's financial update, and we'll go even deeper into what we're expecting financially this year in 2026 and where we're going next year in fiscal year 2027. The final version of the 2027 budget is going to be presented at the board meeting in May for consideration and adoption by the trustees. And that wraps up our financial update. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Floresto, for that thorough update as always. And I usually ask my questions in the moment of the presentation rather than tabling them until the end. But I certainly will defer to Trustee Dukowski and Trustee Fiedler to see if they had any additional questions of you on this agenda item.
I just have a comment. Thank you so much. It's really good to have the consistency in the budget, and thank your team for doing what they're supposed to do. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we're always bragging about, how thorough your presentations are always, Floresto, and how we are in a sound financial position as an organization compared to many, many other organizations. And despite what, questions or concerns people might have about, fiscal management, I always lean on my confidence in you that you are always very thoughtful, thorough, and planning out, and that, should something that has a fiscal impact be presented, that you will certainly let us know whether it's something that we should postpone or how it might impact and what trade-offs might be necessary to implement such a request. So I appreciate that, which gives me all the confidence when we are approving things that have a financial impact to the district.
Thank you. And staff definitely appreciates the support of this board, just like today, and getting all of your insightful feedback. It really gives us confidence in how we're managing finances going forward. Again, we appreciate your support there.
And then, Trustee Fiedler, I did not mean to jump in front of you at that moment, so I'll just open up the microphone to see if you had any comments or questions for Floresto.
No, I just wanted to reiterate, it's nice to see the numbers. It's nice to understand the numbers. It seems like we're in a really good place. And I love coming to these meetings because I feel like it just feels good to be like, yeah, everything's working how it's supposed to be working. Your team is doing great work.
Thank you.
Okay, with that said, I guess that will close that agenda item. And then, Martha, I recall you saying the next agenda item is public comment. So we will see if anyone has signed up for public comment.
We have no one signed up.
All right, hearing that, so I suppose the next agenda item is adjournment, right?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
All right, I guess we don't have a motion, so I'll just go ahead and sort of hit the gavel with my hand on my knee and say, thank you, everyone, and we are officially adjourned, and everyone have a great rest of the day and week.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
See
it.
you Thursday.
All right.